Hey guys, this is Mr. Pilla here. Today is Wednesday, April 22nd, 2020. In this video, I'm going to be going over both DRUL rule answer sheets from last week and from this week. I'm going to explain how to complete each question, and this should be useful in preparing for the tests that we are taking tomorrow, okay? So as I had said in the instructions, don't just look for the answers here. I do want you to compare your answers to the answers in this video, but don't just look for the answers, mainly because it's more important to know how to get the answers rather than the answers themselves. So that's what I really want you to focus on is the how, okay? Alright, so like I had said before, I'm going to go through all of the answer sheets, part 1 and part 2 from last week, as well as the second DRUL rule answer sheet from this week. So this might get a little long. You can skip ahead to the parts that you would prefer to see, but my suggestion is to just sit through it and look over the entire video, okay? Alright. So let's get started on part 1. Oh, wait, hold on. Before we go any further, I gotta write my name. Because if I don't write my name, then you're not going to know whose paper this is. Okay. So let's move on to part 1. Part 1 says the metric system. Alright? The first question's asking, what is the unit for length? So there's really no, math or anything involved here. We just need to know what the unit for length is in the metric system, and that unit for length is meter, okay? A lot of this, at least on the first page here, yeah, the entire first page, all this information can be found in your notes, so this really shouldn't take long to go through, alright? The second question is, what is the unit for volume in the metric system? That is the liter, okay? Ooh, spelled it wrong. Now, I did look over some of your answers for your worksheets. A lot of you guys were putting things like inches or gallons or pounds for mass. Those are not the metric system. While we do measure length, volume, and mass with those other units, those units are not considered to be part of the metric system, alright? The metric system, the unit for length is meter. The unit for volume is liter. And the third question here, what is the unit for mass? The answer there is the gram. Alright? So, again, check these three answers with the answers that you came up with to see if you got the right answers. And if you didn't, then you should be aware that these are those units that I was asking for, okay? Alright, so moving on down. We have for the DRUL rule, what do each of the letters stand for? Okay, so the DRUL rule, D-R-U-L, each letter stands for a different thing, okay? The D in DRUL stands for down, okay? What you're going to find is all the letters stand for a different direction. D stands for down, R stands for right, U stands for up, and L stands for left. So in the DRUL rule, D stands for down, R stands for right, U stands for up, L stands for left. In other words, you can call it the down, right, up, left rule. And it's really important that you understand the concept of down, right, up, left because of the next question that we're about to do. Alright? It says, in the DRUL rule, which direction do we move the decimal if on the staircase we go in the following direction? Up. Well, let's think about it. In the down, right, up, left rule, if you're going up, you're moving the decimal to the left. Okay? And if you're going down, you're moving the decimal to the right. That's why it's called the down, right, up, left rule. Okay? That's why it's called the DRUL rule, the down, right, up, left rule. Alright? Make sure that you understand that concept because that's pretty much the most important thing when we get to converting in the metric system. Alright? Alright. Alright, and now we're on the second page. Now, for the next 6 questions, it says, using the prefix tables in the handout, what are the associated values for each? For these next 6 questions, we don't have to do any steps, we don't have to do any math, we're just using the notes again, okay? And this is actually found on slide 14 of your notes from last week, okay? So it shouldn't really take that long to get through these questions here. So question 1, it says 1 kilometer equals how many meters? The answer there is 1,000 meters. All right. Question 2, it says 1 milligram equals how many grams? The answer there is 0.001 grams. Question 3 says 1 hectoliter equals how many liters? Answer there, 100 liters. All right. Next, 1 centimeter equals how many meters? The answer there is 0.01 meters. Okay? Next, 1 decagram equals how many grams? The answer there is 10 grams. Okay? And finally, 1 decimeter equals how many meters? That is 0.1 meters. Okay, so again, all I did to get these answers was I used the notes. Okay, so just double check that table, just look it over, all right, and you'll see how I got these answers. So that's part 1. Now we're going to move on to part 2, practice problems. So this is where we're actually going to put the DRUL rule into some practice. Okay, first thing I do want to point out is that you'll notice that there's already a lot of things going on here. That's because I prepped ahead of time, because I'm actually going to show you how I'm getting my answers. I'm not just going to give you the answers, I'm going to show you how I'm getting them. So just so you're aware, what you're seeing right now is not answers. So I'll actually know who paid attention during this part by seeing if they're just writing what I have up here right now. But these are not answers, okay? These are just what I put in place ahead of time so that way you can see how I get my answers, okay? All right, so number 1, it says if you have 147 M, how many DAM do you have? Well, the first thing we got to do is figure out what's M and what's DAM, okay? M stands for meters, okay? So we have 147 meters, and we want to know how many DAM we have. DAM stands for decameters, okay? So 147 meters, how many decameters do we have? So the very first thing we got to do in this is we have to determine, are we moving up our staircase model or are we moving down our staircase model? Okay? And to go from meters to decameters, you have to move up. In fact, you have to move up 1 step, okay? So now we know we're moving up the staircase. Okay. What we also have to know is, according to the DRUL rule, the down, right, up, left rule, depending on which direction we're going, what direction is our decimal moving? Okay, well, I just got done saying that we're moving up, so we should be moving our decimal to the left. Okay, well, where is the decimal in the number 147? I'm looking at it, there's no decimal there. Well, like we said in the notes, if you have a number that does not have a decimal, it's understood that the decimal is found at the end of the number, okay? So I added the decimal there so you can see that's where it's understood to be. It might not be in the actual number itself in the question, but the decimal is understood to be at the end of the number, okay? Okay, so now we know that we're moving up the staircase from meters to decameters. So we know that we're moving our decimal place to the left. Well, how many times are we moving it to the left? Well, like I said, in order to go from meters to decameters, you're moving up 1 step. So because we're only moving 1 step, we're going to move our decimal place to the left once. Okay? And I'm going to use these arrows on the side here to show you the movement of that decimal, okay? So that decimal is going to move 1 time to the left, all right? Now, when that decimal moves one time to the left, our number now becomes, let's go over here, 14.7. And what's our units again? Decameters. Okay? So, the answer to the first question is 14.7 decameters. Again, we started with 147 meters. We wanted to see how many decameters we had, so we had to figure out what direction on the staircase we were going. We went up, and because we went up, we had to move our decimal to the left, and because we only went up one step, we only had to move the decimal place over one step. Okay? And when we did that, we came up with 14.7 decameters. Okay? That explanation was a little lengthy. I probably won't be as lengthy going forward, but I just wanted you guys to understand exactly step for step what I did in order to get that answer, okay? All right, let's move on to question 2. It says, if you have 123 grams, how many milligrams do you have, okay? So, again, we're going from grams to milligrams. If you look at your staircase model, you'll see that we're moving down the staircase to go from grams to milligrams, okay? We are actually going to move 3 steps down. So what that means is we need to move our decimal place to the right 3 times. Remember, it's down, right, up, left. So since we're moving down the staircase, we're moving the decimal to the right. And we're going to move it right 3 times, all right? Again, where's the decimal in 123? I don't see a decimal. Because you don't see a decimal, it's understood that the decimal is at the end. Okay? So we are going to move it 3 times. So it gets moved once, twice, 3 times. Well, hold on a sec here. This is something that's different. There's no numbers there. How are you going to move the decimal place over to the right when there's no numbers? If you remember from the notes, every time you move the decimal place to a position where there's no numbers, you're going to add a 0. Okay? So what I will actually do here is I'm going to move this out of the way, this out of the way, and you'll see that every time I move the decimal place over, where there's not a number before, I'm going to add a 0. Okay? So that my final answer then becomes 123,000 milligrams. All right? And there's actually 2 L's in milli. All right? So again, this is how I got my answer. All right? This is the answer over here. All of this is just how I did the answer. This is the final answer, okay? So this is what you should be comparing your answers with, all right? Good? All right, let's keep going. Number 3, it says, if you have 5,678.45 deciliters, how many hectoliters do you have? So let's start from the beginning. We have deciliters, and we're moving to hectoliters, right? We have to decide, are we going up the staircase or are we going down the staircase? To go from deciliters to hectoliters, you have to move up the staircase. How many times are you going up the staircase? You're going up 1, 2, 3 times, okay? So in order to go from deciliters to hectoliters, you have to move up 3 times. When you move up the staircase, what direction is your decimal going? Well, it's the down, right, up, left rule. So since we're going up, we're going to move our decimal to the left. And we're going to move it left 3 times. Okay. Now, one thing I want to point out real quick. In my number here that I wrote, you'll notice the big difference is I did not write the comma. The main thing I need you guys to understand is when you're working with these numbers, you're better off not including the comma because the comma can confuse you. save the comma for later when you have an answer, okay? But when you're working with the actual number itself, don't worry about the comma, okay? Because all it's going to do is going to confuse you. So I got rid of the comma, okay? And like I said, I'm going to move my decimal place over 3 times. So that's 1, that's 2. Let me move it a little. There we go. And that's 3. All right. And now we can see that our final answer is 5.67845 hectoliters. Okay? And you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to circle the answer so that way you guys aren't confused about what here is the answer. All right? So that's our answer. Ooh, moved the wrong thing. Again, shoot. That's our answer. That's our answer. And that's our answer. Okay? Alright. Moving on. If you have 4.23 meters, how many kilometers do you have? Okay? So we're starting off with meters. We want to know how many kilometers we'll have. So we're moving from meters to kilometers. Using our staircase model, we're able to see that we are moving up the staircase. So because we are moving up the staircase, according to the down, right, up, left rule, the DRUL rule, it states that we're going to be moving our decimal place to the left. Okay, we're moving up the staircase. That means we're moving our decimal place to the left. All right. How many times are we moving up the staircase? We're moving up 3 times. To go from meters to kilometers, you have to move up the staircase 3 times. Okay? So that means we're going to move our decimal place 3 times. All right? So we need 3 of these. And we're going to move it 1, 2, and 3. Okay? Now again, we run into a situation where, well, there's no numbers over there. How are we supposed to move the decimal place when there's no numbers? When that happens, what do? You add zeros. Okay, so I'm going to add those zeros in so that way you can see just exactly what we're doing here. Okay, so those zeros get added in. Trying to move this arrow without moving the whole page. There we go. And your final answer turns out to be 0.00423 kilometers. All right. There we go. All right. See that? So again, if you don't have numbers present, just add zeros, okay? All right, moving on to number 5. If you have 5,247.64 centigrams, how many decagrams do you have? All right. So we're going from centigrams to decagrams. That means we are going up the staircase, okay? We are going up the staircase from centigrams to decagrams. That means we're going to have to move our decimal place to the left, okay? How many places are we moving it to the left? Well, to go from centigrams to decagrams, you have to go up 3 spaces, right? You go up 3 steps. So because we're going up 3 steps, we're moving our decimal place to the left 3 steps. All right, so we're going to need 3 of these again. Oh, 1 too many. We're going to move it 1, 2, 3 times. And because we move our decimal place 3 times, our new number is 5.24767 decograms. And let me put a circle around it so that way you know that's what the answer is. All right. So we finally finished these practice problems, okay? I showed you all the work on how to get these answers, and the things that are circled are the final answer. So that is what you should be comparing your answers to. All right, guys? All right. All right, so now we've completed part 1 and part 2 of the assignment from last week. Now I'm going to go over the assignment that you completed over Monday and Tuesday, okay? So again, the first thing you're going to notice about this is that your paper does not look like this, okay? Yours just has a bunch of answer here's. Again, I went ahead and prepped it so that way you can see exactly how it is that I'm doing these questions, okay? So that way you understand how I got to the answer. That's what I'm concerned about. Do you understand how I got to the answer? All right? All right. First thing I'm going to do, this is Mr. Pilla's worksheet. Okay. Moving on to question 1. The weight of a flash drive is 3 grams. Convert the measurement to centigrams. So we're going to do what we were doing before. We know that we're moving from grams to centigrams. So that means we're moving down the staircase, okay? Have that staircase in mind, or just have it up on the screen somewhere, and you'll see that to go from grams to centigrams, you have to move down the staircase, okay? And because we're moving down, that means we're going to move our decimal place to the right, okay? Down, right, up, left, all right? Where's the decimal place in the number 3? Well, because we don't see a decimal, we understand that it's at the end. So the number 3 that I wrote here, I included that decimal at the end, okay? So we're going to move this to the right. How many steps does it take to go from grams to centigrams? It takes 2 steps. That means that we are going to have to move our decimal to the right 2 steps. So let's do that. So it goes over once. Oop, hold on. That's not how I wanted to do that. There we go. It goes once and then twice. Okay. Now again, there's no numbers there. So what do you do when there's no numbers? You add zeros. Okay. So I added zeros to the end of the number. And once you do that, your new number becomes 300. And what is our units? Centigrams. Okay. So our final answer is 300 centigrams. And again, I'm going to circle the answer so that way you know what the answer is. There we go. Perfect. All right, moving on. The distance between Billy's house and Grandma's is 2,587 meters. How far is this in kilometers? So we have 2,587 meters. I dropped the comma because I don't want to work with the comma. That'll get confusing. I put a decimal place at the end because there was no decimal in the number. Okay. And now I have to know how to get from meters to kilometers. So to go from meters to kilometers, you have to go up the staircase. Okay. You have to go up the staircase 3 times. All right. Because we're moving up, we're going to move our decimal to the left. And because we're moving up 3 times, we have to move our decimal to the left 3 times. Okay, so we're going to need this arrow here. We're going to move it 1, 2, 3 times. All right. And because we're moving it 3 times, our final answer is 2.587 kilometers. All right. Again, check your answers along with me while I'm doing this, so that way you can see, did you get the right answer? And if you didn't get the right answer, just check it how I'm doing this, so that way you will know in the future that's how you get that answer. Okay? Alright, moving on to number 3. Oh boy, look at that number. We have 7,565,429.259 deciliters of water were placed into a large tank. How many hectoliters of water were put into that tank? So we have deciliters and we're going to hectoliters. All right. To go from deciliters to hectoliters, you have to move up the staircase. Okay, and you have to move up. Let's see, deciliters to hectoliters. You have to move up 3 times. Okay, because we're moving up, the DRUL rule tells us that we have to move our decimal to the left. Okay, and because we're moving up 3 times, we have to move our decimal to the left 3 times. So I'm going to need this arrow here. Okay, and we're going to move it 1, 2, 3 times. All right, and now that we've moved our decimal over 3 times, we get a final answer of, let's see, looks like 7,000, or you know what, I'm going to add the comma later, because like I said, those commas can be confusing. 0.429259. Okay, and it looks like we can add a comma right here. So our final answer is 7,565.429259 hectoliters. Okay, and let's not forget our circle. Alright, very good. That was number 3. Number 4. A typical laptop computer has a mass of about 1.3 kilograms. What is the mass of the laptop in decigrams? Now that's one thing I want to point out. One thing I actually haven't pointed out in a while. If you see DG or DL or DM, right? That's deci. Deca is DA. Deci is just D. Okay, so that's how I know that's decigrams and not decagrams. Anyway, so we're moving from kilograms to decigrams. Okay, so on our staircase, we are moving down, and we're actually moving down 4 spaces. Now, this is going to be, I think, more than we've done previously. Up to this point, I think we've only moved the decimal place maybe like 3 times. This time, we're going to get to move it 4 times, okay? So we're moving down 4 spaces. That means we have to move our decimal to the right 4 spaces, okay? So I'm going to need this arrow here. And we're going to move it 1. That's not what I want to do. These arrows are hard to move. 2, 3, and 4. Now again, we don't have any numbers there, so what do? We add zeros. Just making sure I did that right. Alright. And now we have our new number. Our new number is 13000. Looks like I could add a comma here. That is 13,000 decigrams. Alright. Let's put a circle around it so you guys can see. Okay, moving on. We have, or you know what, let me scroll up real quick, since these are about to be out of the screen in a second. These are the answers that we got for 1, 2, 3, and 4. Make sure that you look over them and compare them to your answers that you got, okay? Alright, so now we're moving on to number 5. Number 5 says, a typical 10 AWG copper wire can only be run 152.4 meters before a voltage drop occurs. how many hectometers can the length of the wire be? So we're converting meters to hectometers. All right. So again, looking at our staircase, are we going up the staircase or down the staircase? And in this case, we are going up the staircase from meters to hectometers. All right. So we're going up the staircase 2 times. So because we are going up, we are going to move our decimal place to the left. And because we're going up 2 times, we need to move our decimal 2 times. Okay? So we are going to move our decimal to the left 2 times. And we come up with a final answer of 1.524 hectometers. All right. You got that? All right. Moving on. Number 6. A small bowl contains 500 milliliters of milk. How many liters of milk does it contain? So we're going from milliliters to liters. On our staircase, to go from milliliters to liters, you need to move up the staircase 3 steps. Okay? So since we are moving up, we are going to move our decimal to the left. The down, right, up, left rule. DRUL rule. Okay? So you're going to move the decimal place to the left, and because we're going up 3 times, you're going to move it to the left 3 times. Okay? So let's move our decimal place over 3 times. We go 1, 2, 3 times. All right? And we come up with a final answer of 0.5. Now, here's something that has not come up yet. If you have a number that by the time it's said and done, you have zeros that come after a decimal point. Because if I were to write this out exactly how we got it, it would look like this. 0.05, or I'm sorry, not 0.0, 0.500 liters, okay? You do not need to include those zeros at the end. You can actually drop those zeros. So what your real answer should look like is this, 0.5 liters, okay? So again, if you have zeros that show up after a decimal place at the end of the number, you can drop those zeros. You don't need them, okay? Make sense? And the same actually goes for the zeros that are at the front, okay? If you have zeros before a decimal place that begin your number, you can drop those zeros as well, okay? And it looks like we're actually going to have to do that in a later question, so we'll save that for later. All right. But ultimately, this is the number you should get, 0.5 liters, okay? All right. Number 7, a woman in England celebrated losing 6,000 grams on her diet. How many kilograms has she lost? So we have 6,000 grams, and we're going to move to kilograms, okay? So to go from grams to kilograms, you have to go up the staircase. Because we're going up the staircase, we're going to move our decimal to the left. We're going up 3 steps, so we're going to go to the left 3 steps, okay? So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. Okay? And because we move our decimal over 3 times, we get a new, oh, I didn't write out the word grams. There we go. We move our decimal place to the left 3 times, and our new number becomes 6 kilograms. Now again, you might be thinking, Mr. Pillow, why didn't you write 6.000 kilograms? Well, like I said, when you have zeros at the end of the number that come after a decimal, Okay, so for example, 6.000. These zeros are at the end of the number after the decimal. You can drop those zeros. You don't need them. Okay? And what you end up with is this 6-point number. And you don't need to write the decimal place if it comes at the very end of the number. So you can drop that also. And your final answer is 6 kilograms. Okay? You see how I got that? Just make sure that you understand why it is that I'm getting rid of those zeros and even getting rid of the decimal place at the end. Okay? Alright, number 8. A dehydrated man was administered 0.45 deciliters of saline solution in the hospital. How much saline solution did he receive in milliliters? Okay, so we're going from deciliters to milliliters. So if you're looking at your staircase to go from deciliters to milliliters, you have to go down the staircase, okay? And according to the down, right, up, left rule, when you move down, you're going to move your decimal place to the right. To go from deciliters to milliliters, you have to go down 4 steps. So, because we're moving down 4 steps, we have to move our decimal to the right 4 steps. Okay? So I'm going to need this one. We're going to move it 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, again, there's no numbers over here. So what do? We add zeros. Okay? And now we have a new number. And our final answer is 4500. So that's 4,500 milliliters. Now again, you might be saying, well, Mr. Pillow, there was a 0 over here. Why didn't we add the 0? Because this is what that would look like. Okay? When you have a 0 that starts the number before the decimal point, you don't really need that 0. So you drop that 0. Okay? And again, because my decimal ends the number, I don't even need to write the decimal. I mean, you can write it like that, but you don't need to write the decimal, okay? So your final answer should be 4,500 milliliters. All right, I'm going to circle it again. There we go. All right, number 9. A box being shipped must have a mass that does not exceed 3 hectograms. How many grams is this? All right. So we have a box that is 3 hectograms. We're going from hectograms to grams. When you go from hectograms to grams, you go down the staircase. All right. And you're going to go down 2 times. All right. So we're going to move our decimal place to the right 2 times. I'm sorry, 2 times. To go from hectograms to grams, 2 steps down, so you're going to move the decimal place 2 steps right. All right. So we're going to move it 2 times. Because there's no numbers there, we're going to add zeros. Oops, put the zeros in the wrong spot. There we go. And we end up with a new number. And that number is 300 grams. All right. Again, there's no decimal in my final answer. I don't need that decimal. It's at the end of my number, so I drop that decimal. Okay? All right. And let me circle it. There we go. I am having such a tough time just moving the circle. There we go. Okay. Final question. Number 10. The little boy has a stick that was a meter long. How many decimeters was it in length? Okay? So we have 1 meter, and we're trying to go from meters to decimeters. So we're going to go down 1 step. All right. So because we're going down, and because we're only going 1 step, we have to move our decimal to the right 1 step. All right. So we're going to move it once. Because there's no numbers there, I'm going to add a 0. And our final answer is 10 decimeters. All right. And I'm going to put a circle around this one too. All right. So here's what we got for questions 5 through 10. Remember, it's the circled responses that are the answers to the questions. So look at these answers, compare them to what you got, see if you got them right, and if you didn't get it right, look and see what I did in order to get the right answer. All right? All right, guys, so that's everything I got. If you have any questions or anything like that, please email me, message me over mine, do whatever you got to do to contact me. All right? And I will get back to you as soon as I can. I will help you with anything that you need. And please, 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 like I said in the very beginning, don't just look at the answers. Make sure you understand how I'm getting these answers so that way when you go to take the test tomorrow, you understand how to do that test. Okay? All right, guys, I'll talk to you another time. See you later.